Jeff.
Welcome, Toon fans, to Toons Up North, Dirty Up North's premier Toon show, where we review all the cartoons from and I guess maybe some newer ones. We haven't done that yet, though, but maybe
No,
one day.
not yet.
But I am joined, as always, by my cartoon co-host, Paul, and I am your other host, Jake. So, how you doing, sir?
I'm not too bad. It is the Jake, the cartoon meister, the bringer of the tunes, the
He,
guy that brings nightmares and thrills all at the same time.
he hates live action. He doesn't remember any actors' names.
But if you put
He's here.
if you put something pixelated in front of him, he gets all excited and does a little happy dance.
Yeah.
And we all like to see Jake do his happy dance for his cartoons. Yes.
I did some happy dance last night because I was kicking bosses' asses on Elden Ring. That was fun. Check
Oh
out that on
no.
the YouTube if you want to see some of the end game dudes get trounced.
Yes, I missed last night. Unfortunately, I was watching X Men.
Oh yeah, I did forget to watch X-Men until today, so the fresh in my memory.
Certainly.
Um, but yes, so for this episode we chose some X-Men original run from the 90s cartoon, not
Hmm.
the new one. And we chose some Apocalypse episodes. For a couple of reasons I chose them. First one is I love Apocalypse, and it's pretty much because of this show.
Hmm.
But he's just one of my favorite X-Men bad guys.
Hmm.
And then secondly, it looks like they're leaning into the apocalypse stuff in the what's going to be season 2 of the X-Men 97.
Hmm.
That's getting very confusing now. Just like X-Men. So yeah, I was thinking maybe we'll get some like hints at stuff that's going to appear in
Hmm.
the next season, or maybe some characters will come back
Hmm.
and remember these moments because they've done that a couple of times when they've rebooted this.
No, definitely,
But
and
I like,
it was such an interesting choice as well. Since we actually reviewed X Men '97, only
mhm.
like not too long ago. It was only a few months ago. So
Yeah,
after you've watched this, go and check that out as well. But it's because when you think about these X Men cartoons as well, they are held on such a high regard from our childhood. I don't know that's me
yeah,
because there is certain cartoons that I remember as a kid that like are untouchable, like Batman animated series,
mhm,
the Spider Man cartoon, X Men, like funny
yeah.
enough, all superhero ones for some reason.
Yeah, I wonder if it was because they always picked like the outfits that were really high color and stuff and
Mhm.
toyetic, as we always hear on like the toys that made us and stuff. Um, but yeah, like I was definitely more of a Spider-Man kid. Like watching these cartoons. Like I definitely liked X-Men.
Mhm.
But I think some of the storylines were a bit too confusing. And I think obviously X-Men, the comics are kind of like, aren't they? They get pretty complicated. Or it was just stuff like, oh, now they're going to the Savage Land for like
Mm.
4 episodes. And I think I just found it hard to follow because there was a lot of like four-parters and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, maybe Spider-Man was a bit simpler because it's mainly him, whereas this was like a superhero team.
Mhm.
And you had teams of villains as well to keep track of on top of everything.
No, definitely,
But
and
no,
I think there
yeah, I
was
definitely
always
enjoyed it.
yeah, there was always levels of villains as well. That's what I quite liked about X Men. There was like mid
Yeah,
level, easy, like it's almost like a computer game at times. Where then it was like the hard bosses and the impossible bosses. And
yeah,
Apocalypse at the time was one of the higher echelons of bad guys when it comes to X Men. We hadn't
mhm,
seen anything like, unless you've read the comics, we hadn't seen anything like this in the cartoon before, where it was basically like almost like the Uber villain. Like his powers were just unmatched by anyone.
yeah,
He, I think Charles explains it as well, like because he's panicking, thinking like a mutant who's just mad with their own power is just
yeah,
like terrifying, like his worst fear come true.
yeah.
And
Because he says he's like groups or Magneto. He's like, this thought was interesting. But then Charles disappears almost completely from the episodes after that.
Definitely. That's the thing with Charles. Charles is uh, as advertised as one of the strongest psychics out there, but all of a
Yeah.
sudden he just doesn't really use it or use his powers. He's very reluctant to use his powers, but
Yeah,
uh,
but you know what happens to him in the cartoon though, whenever he tries to like mind attack someone evilly, just ends up getting backfired and going like, "Wah, wah." That's also what happens to Jean most of the
oh
time. But not in these episodes, luckily.
no,
It happens to Rogue though. They have
yeah.
a lot of that in the X-Men. Someone tries to like, power link to someone else, like an evil person's mind, and then they're like, "Wah, it hurts."
Definitely. So you picked two episodes. The episodes you
Yeah.
chose were, I'll get the names
Is
up
it
now.
is it Come the Apocalypse?
Come the
Which
Apocalypse and
yeah.
Obsession, which again it could be an SMS. I can't get the words out now. S&M manual for all those
Yeah.
kingy fuckers out there. But
That Archangel outfit was pretty BDSM club
to be fair,
coded.
all the X Men at times you could like
He
say
did
think.
get strapped to a table right immediately as well. Poor Sam Worthington the third. Um, yeah, so like the basic gist of these episodes is Apocalypse shows up and does some stuff kind of out of nowhere. Um, but your character Angel, who's a very famous X person, is the sort of central focus and the link between Apocalypse and sort of like, the mutant kind. And he's, after this first one, he gets on a revenge quest. I want to ask you first of all, because I've been digging into some like old X-Men comics, like,
Mm.
original run when it was very, very rough and very silly. Um, but like, what do you think of Angel? Because like, he's kind of a douchebag constantly. But I don't know if you've read anything like past this or like before this where he's better. But he's always shown as like the bratty rich kid. And
um,
like
I,
he
th-
is in this as well.
I think the problem with the X Men, like especially in the comics, because the group
Yeah.
dynamic, they always try and keep the same, but they've got like interchangeable characters that they always try and use or focus
Yeah.
on. Like I always compare Archangel or Angel to like Iceman, Bobby Drake. Like they have like a similar type of not
Right.
background, but like they're there to be like the Morton or argumentative side of things, where when the X Men join the forces and stuff, and like be interested in different characters. But with this one that you chose, like it's quite interesting with these because normally when we've done episodes, like especially with like the superhero ones, if we've done like two together, it's like this one and the next one. These two kind of flow, but they are like the first one is episode 10, season one, and then
Yeah.
the second episode is episode 10, season three.
Yeah.
But how they work, if you watch them back to back, you wouldn't be able to tell there were three seasons between these episodes, which the X Men have been on countless missions, fought different bad guys, and things have happened quite a lot within the group dynamics between these two episodes. But
Yeah.
I think like writing wise and using like the source material well, with which that's why I think the X Men the animated series does probably is better than most like say things, especially of the time. They use basically the comics so well that the stories can interlinked or they can go off to wild and wonderful places like the Savage Lands or into
Mm.
space to fight like the Shikari Empire and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's why I was kind of got excited by this. I know, if we were being honest, the later seasons are not as strong as the early ones. If you go to like seasons 4 and 5,
Oh,
but
okay. I thought
um,
the animation at least looked a bit nicer
mhm,
in the third season.
yes.
Like Archangel's design, like his suit and everything looked much better
Hmm.
in the season 3 episode. What I did like though, that I noticed from a technical animation standpoint was they weren't afraid to have the characters' outfits like slightly changed. And this is
Mm.
like, in the season 1 and the season 3.
Mhm.
Like I think there's a part where like Rogue's jacket comes off, and then
Mm.
obviously a suit's different,
Mhm.
meaning the animators had to draw two Rogues for that episode because it's like
Mhm.
it's not as if you just take the jacket off. You've got to
Mhm.
redraw everything.
Yeah.
Um, and they did that with Archangel as well. Like he had like his hood off at some
Mhm.
point, so that he had the full hair out and like the blue skin and everything. So
Mhm.
totally unique character model
Mhm.
that they just decided like, yes, for variety's sake, like characters have
Mhm.
slightly different outfits, and I think that's really cool. It's like a really nice attention to detail that you
Mhm.
probably wouldn't notice as a kid because you just think, yeah, like he took his jacket off, and it's like no, that's why cartoon characters have like one set outfit forever because like they don't want to keep drawing like complete new models. Also, they'll practice, they'll get better at drawing like Wolverine every week.
Mhm.
So they don't want to like constantly change him and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Also, I did write in my notes that I felt was very important. Cyclops's look with his like brown X-Men jacket.
mhm.
Uh, that's that's just amazing. I love that look. It makes no sense
No.
because he's just wearing a jacket over his super suit, and he's not like hiding any part of it or trying to look smarter. He just knows it looks good.
Definitely. Um, but like, see, I know aesthetically wise, like the visually, the artwork and everything, like, is just stunning at times. I know there's a few frames and stuff that does get a
Mhm.
little bit wonky, but most animation do it that way. But for the time, the amount of detail that they were putting in, like the work that the animators were doing, and especially with such complex characters, complex movement, because it's not easy to like have like a group of like X-Men fighting or like flowing and with it looking natural as well. So I have
Yeah,
to
because
give.
they're all completely unique in
Mm,
design. Like you can't really cut any corners and be
mhm.
yeah, because sometimes they'll draw them small and it's like it's still gotta look like Cyclops. Like, you can't just, line up a bunch of them together and be like, there's a group of them. Like
Yeah.
you can always tell them apart. So yeah, it must have been hard, like animating the action scenes.
Mhm. And it's interesting, like, see, because I know the main reason why you chose these two episodes was because of Apocalypse,
Yeah.
but the tone of these two cartoons, even though the bad guy was the same, had a lot of the same characters in, but the tones were completely different, which I thought was
Yeah.
absolutely masterful of how like the writers have done. Because the first episode we watched, like that was sorry we came to was come the apocalypse,
Yeah.
which did follow one of the more iconic episodes of the X Men cartoon, which was Cure, which is basically
Yes.
you get a little bit in this episode where like say there's little flashbacks and stuff like that, but it's quite poignant, especially in the not just the cartoon, but if you go into the comics, the one of the big things, and they even did play about with in the movies a little bit as well,
Yeah.
is the conflict and the conflicting that a lot of mutants do have if they had
Mhm.
the choice to get rid of the powers. Because I know a lot of people look at X-Men and think, "What are you talking about? You got powers; it'll be amazing." But some of these
Yeah.
powers aren't fun. Like
Oh
Rogue's
yeah,
powers
like
isn't like
Rogues, yeah.
as hard. There was one, like say that later, I think. Like one of the four horsemen that if she touched things it died. There was one where
Yeah.
touch things and it becomes sick. So again, it's not all a bed of roses being an X Men, and again, being someone like Beast, and even though Beast's got his own different backstory, but having to walk down the streets and have people staring and looking at you for your appearance can't
Yeah.
be always easy to take. So the internal dilemma and the internal question, like, which I was going to throw at you maybe a little bit later, but I'll do it now because I think it's quite a
Yeah,
good point.
go for it.
If you had the choice, if you had a power and you weren't comfortable with that power, would you take the cure?
Okay.
Because that would because would it change you if you didn't have your power?
It would. I think that would depend on like how old I was, which I think does play into it sometimes
Mm-hmm.
in like the X-Men, where Rogue sort of like coded as a bit younger than everyone else. Like Cyclops is like, no, this is part of us. There's nothing wrong with us. Like there's nothing to be cured. But again, like you say, appearance wise, he's fine. I mean, he can't. I think he does he see all sort of like a red tint
It,
constantly.
I think, but if he winks at you with the glasses on, I might have a problem there. So,
Yeah, so his is quite destructive, but
hmm
it doesn't make him, apart from the glasses thing, it doesn't make him look like
hmm
crazy,
yeah,
like Beast, like you were saying. And the sad thing about Beast as well is like it's his mind that's special, and like
hmm
that's got nothing to do with his like Beast powers, as far as I'm aware.
no, definitely.
So he's almost like has the wrong power, if you know
hmm
what I mean. You know, like he got the wrong mutation because he should have had some kind of mind powers like Charles.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I think it would depend how old I was. Like me now,
hmm
I think like no, I would keep it. I'd be proud of it. But I think like as a younger kid, that whole like what other people think of you
hmm
really affects you. And I know X-Men is used for a lot of allegories, like, you know,
hmm
being gay and stuff like that. And it's
yeah,
like, you know, there's nothing to be cured.
hmm
They do a lot of like this is how we were born type of stuff, and it's like,
hmm
you know, you got the X gene from when. So a lot of people do connect with that side of it, don't they? Being
hmm
like, yeah, would it change me?
yeah, and
Um,
I think that like it's quite a strong. And again, people always laugh and say, "Oh, it's only a comic." No, it's not just a comic. The X Men, like, I'm not going to try and big it up or like make myself sound like a bit of an idiot, but it is one of the most important comics that's been wrote. Uh,
yeah,
Past, present, and future will always have that kind of like not to sound like cheeses out that X gene type thing where
the X Factor,
the X
who's a
factor that's
different team.
the X Force.
Oh yeah.
But it's kind of as you rightly said, the X factor that gives an important message. It gives people hope, and it gives people like who can be different or not the same. That it's
Mhm,
kind of okay. You will find your place. You like as you said with like as we said before in the past with the nerdy up north community or nerdy Oz, we will
mhm.
like see you can find the people that will understand you and get you type thing. And I think that's where
Yeah.
this kind of like X Men, but uh, like.
Yeah, you can find family everywhere,
Mhm.
if you try. The only difference is you don't have a mansion to let us all live in.
Well, the nerdy up north
Like
compound will come one day.
like the Xavier school for gifted children. But yeah, like even in the early comics, like before they'd really got to that whole sort of thing, because that was like a more 90s thing where they started trying to tell important stories. There was still like hate mobs after the mutants constantly, and but they were always like, you know, you don't judge all of the humans for like the actions of like the mob and stuff like that. It's like they've always been talking about this stuff. But I think in interviews like Stan Lee and stuff has said like, oh, they didn't set out to make it this thing, but he
hmm
was happy that people found that, and then future writers have like built on that type of thing.
hmm
But yeah, like when I was thinking about this, like, because obviously I was like, as a kid, I was like, Apocalypse is cool, like his powers and his speeches are awesome. Um, but when I've grown up and spoke to people in Nerdy Up North, you find that a lot of people were super invested in like the love story between like Rogue and Gambit.
hmm
Um, and it's interesting how people can take different things, but I'm sort of coming at this as a very base level as a kid, being like, "Oh, this guy's cool. I want his powers. Like, I want Wolverine claws. I want Factor and a metal skeleton."
hmm
Um, whereas there was loads of people out there being like, "Oh, look at this really amazing love story that I've enjoyed, like going along." We do get a tiny bit of that when they're playing pool, don't they?
Yeah.
In the rec room, and they're having like a flirty match of pool between Gambit and Rogue.
Mhm.
But they do the whole classic thing where Gene makes him mess up his sink in the 8 ball shot.
Oh, there's so many little gags and stuff. That's what I love about these, like the powers that they use, and like where
Yeah,
a lot of them are quite comfortable, but like as you said, the kind of
Scott
dysfunctional
would never
family.
do that though, would he?
No,
Like that's the fun dynamic. Like he would never like
Mm.
blast a pool ball off the table because
no,
that's not business.
that's not Cyclops' way. That because he's
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting if they ever do like say do the Avengers versus the X Men, seeing Scott face off
Yeah.
against Cap. to be the ultimate brown noser. But yeah,
I've really turned around on Cyclops recently, and I
Mm,
think I think like that new cartoon and just like everything. Like I think they've done a really good like as if they've done a PR job on Cyclops. Like, because you're right, in Avengers versus X-Men, the comic, he's a total
mhm.
crazy man,
Oh, he's
and
nuts. He is absolutely nuts in that.
you're like, how can I relate to this person? It's like I think I just want the Avengers to to clean up here. But yeah, so yeah, we'll get into this. But like I said, like, did you find it a bit confusing in this one how Apocalypse kind of he, his plan wasn't really fully formed? He was just kind of doing stuff. Um, Obviously the mutant cure
Mm,
usually turns out to be an evil plot by either Apocalypse or Mr. Sinister in
yeah.
some form. It's
Mm,
usually a trick to like steal DNA or like clone somebody or mess around in some fashion. In this case, Apocalypse was literally like brainwashing people and giving them like tech suit powers or something. It
mm,
didn't really explain what he did to him. Um, but
yeah.
he turned Angel,
Mm,
who to me has amazing powers that you would never want to get rid of. Like he just has angel wings. Like that's just really
mhm,
useful. um but yeah, it turns him into like a tech version where he's got like metal wings that can shoot out
mhm,
like feather bullets at people,
yeah.
which is very 90s.
No, it's a difficult one because like there's two, as I said, there's tones in these two episodes is very different. It
Yeah.
seems we get two very different apocalypses in this episode as well.
Yeah.
Like the
In the
first,
second one, he's kind of like laughing, joking around, isn't he? Like he's like, "I'm at the Statue of Liberty, do 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 do," like for no reason that we can tell.
no, but the first one, as you said, he's like evil scientist. He's like, oh, I've got this
Yeah,
master plan to because the premise is apocalypse hates not just all humans but all mutants as well, like literally everyone other than himself,
yeah,
and he's gonna like he's always like being worshipped as a god, so he sees himself as
yeah.
uh
He's often called the first mutant.
mm,
I'm assuming they've like retconned that at some point in the comics because I know there's a whole like space planet full of Omega mutants now and
oh,
stuff. I've read some stuff that really confused me. But um, as of like right now, continuity wise, I'm pretty sure he's pegged as the first mutant. And his powers seem to just be like he has all the powers, if you know
mm,
what I mean. Like he just has like
mm,
super strength and vulnerability. That
mm,
and now he's got like tech added onto him that he must have found in space. He has like a spaceship.
mm.
He can grow in size for as much as he wants, or
He
like
can fly,
has
he can shoot laser beams out of his arms and stuff. He's
shapeshift as well.
yeah, he's literally
Yeah.
got every single power that you can think of, but for some reason he doesn't. He can't just take over the world with all these powers. He needs
He's
to
not like a Galactus
no,
quite.
quite
Yeah, he's
yet.
not a
Yeah.
celestial on that level.
So he uses a scientist who is
Yeah.
basically Mystique, and,
Yes.
I think this is the first time we see Mystique in the cartoon. I could be
Is
wrong.
it really? Well, because I was thinking like she doesn't do anything either. She's like, nothing can stop Apocalypse, but also I'm gonna run away. She just like closes the door on Rogue when they have like the little standoff. She's just like, I'm gonna back into this door now. Like, do you remember in the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon when like Avenger just like quickly pressed a button and like walked into the hallway,
Yeah.
and that was enough. Like you see a lot of Rogue like punching the wall, being like, this giant metal wall won't break.
The thing is, though, when it comes to Rogue, like her powers are amazing. Like she is one of the strongest mutants
Yeah.
ever from
It's
stealing.
like a Carol, isn't she like Carol Danvers? Like, didn't she steal Miss Marvel's powers, sort
That's
of
yeah.
thing?
So she holds on to Miss Marvel's powers for too long, so she
Yeah,
keeps them. That's why she can fly and she can punch from the comics,
yeah,
not the MCU version yet. We don't know,
yeah.
unless they want to get rid of Brie Larson pretty quickly. Could be a way out.
They
Uh,
might want to. If you
but yeah,
listen to the fans, apparently.
but yeah. So uh, basically, Rogue after the apocalypse creates his new, like say, four horsemen of the
Oh yeah,
apocalypse because he's got these. cool looking horses, and he's changed.
Yeah,
His
he already had the techno horses ready, didn't he? Yeah, he's Apocalypse. He has flair, shall we say? He has like he's got the theatricality down, where he's like, I'm gonna come out of the gate here with this fully formed like gimmick. He's like a wrestler.
it's
Like
like
he's like I've got my stable ready to come out and I'm gonna be the boss of them.
so all of them like to get the powers because like there's people in the rest or and the thing where because Rogue's been talked out of not using the cure, so
Yes.
the ones that haven't, they're then changed into the four horsemen of the apocalypse. There's Death, who
Oh
is
yes, yes,
Angel,
yes.
and there's
And then
War,
there's like
Pestilence.
who just does this and
Yeah,
things explode. I didn't really know what his deal was.
he
He's
had
got a bowl cut.
I was gonna say he's got a cool haircut that
No, he doesn't.
every childhood wanted as a kid. That the parents
He
made them.
wanted Kieran of that haircut. He thought that was the mutation.
So that was the problem. It wasn't the fact that he was a mutant; he was just sick of his hair. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was a, and they are sent off to like destroy the world basically, or to take over the world. Does
Mhm.
don't they attack a peace treaty? So this peace
Yes.
treaty, and the X Men's watching on TV, going, "No!" Charles is
Yep.
going, "We've got to stop this. This is going to cause chaos." And the X Men go to this peace treaty summit and fight the Horsemen, and the X Men pretty much kick their asses. That's all.
Also, there's like a weird the weird part where like Apocalypse shows up. He's like shape shifted into a gargoyle on top of the building, and then he shifts into himself and he starts like shouting at everyone, just like
throwing stuff around.
puny humans.
Mhm,
And then like some kind of mutant terrorist is up there.
mhm,
And then like the guy at the peace talk who was saying like, well, we can't disarm yet because there is mutants we might need our weapons for. He's like, you can't let one mutant make you back down. And then yeah,
mhm.
Apocalypse gets big and starts kicking tanks and stuff like that.
No,
That's why
definitely.
we love him. He's just a big goofball who has lots of Shakespearean monologues ready to go at any opportunity. Cleanse the world in chaos.
But yeah, then we get a face off with Rogue and Mystique when she finds out like who Mystique is. But we don't get too much of
Mm.
Mystique. We just find out that she's been tricking them, and she plays like the damsel saying, well, not the damsel, like the victim saying, "Oh, Apocalypse made me do this. I didn't want to do it," type thing. And then when Rogue turns her back, as you said, she gets the gun out and goes, "Nah," and shoots her with a
Yeah.
laser that doesn't really do much, just destroys the machine. And Rogue freaks out, goes,
Oh yeah.
we could have used that to fix everyone." And then, as you said, press
But
the
then she
button.
like blasts the machine on top of her as well. But
It's,
then she kind of just gets up.
it's like shitting off like that was an out. Um,
Yeah, pretty much.
but while doing that as well, she tells Rogue about Apocalypse's secret underground base under Stonehenge.
She
So
specifies that it's in England as
yeah,
well. It's just like Stonehenge in England. Like, oh right, okay. I guess that's for the children watching. Are we to assume that Rogue just wouldn't know one of
no,
like
the
the
Southern
the
Belle wouldn't
famous
know where it is.
landmarks?
Yeah. So Rogue flies off to have a face off with Apocalypse. So after
Yes.
the like say the Apocalypse army of the dead or Four Horsemen gets defeated by the X Men, they kind of go to Stonehenge as well, and they've got like the tails between the legs. But
Oh
we
yeah.
but we do get one of the most famous memes from X Men lore is when Apocalypse and Rogue face off.
Yeah.
He zaps her. He gives her a good old zap with his super beams
Yeah.
and throws her against the wall. And she just lies there all seductively, and she's got like say just shows off the goods what she's got. And I'm
Yeah.
sure the
A
artist who drew
gigantic
that,
ass.
yeah, the artist who drew that, I'm sure took painstakingly time and made because like I say, Rogue's got some mighty curves, and she looks mighty fine in that scene as well.
You
Uh,
think do you think that was a joke? Like, do you think they did it intentionally, like to make the other animators laugh or something, or see if anyone noticed?
since like dealing or looking into other comic book artist artwork, especially the ones who deal with like say like
Yes.
at that time,
I've heard about some recent Spider-Man stuff as well that may be traced from pornographic material,
So
which is crazy.
and I'm not saying that all comic book artists are perverts, but a lot of them are, and they do like the big busty women and the round asses, and like say
Yeah.
everything's sculpted the way it is. So,
Actually,
um,
yeah, I was just looking at something the other day, and they were like, "Do you remember when Miss Marvel looked like this?" And it was when she was like, full long blonde hair and like the black bodysuit with like the lightning stripe. Just yeah, there was some guys really enjoying drawing that one that had a type.
it's it's interesting, but yeah, it was totally gratuitous. It was totally unneeded, but I fucking loved it. So yeah. But as a teenage kid, I probably didn't recognize or think I was, oh no, Rogue was going to get smashed by Apocalypse, not smashed by
Yeah.
Apocalypse. But
'Cause that's the thing, like, we don't know, like, they never really tell you how powerful he is,
mhm,
but you just sort of assume everyone's in
mhm,
imminent danger.
yeah,
But then again, like, Cyclops does blast him away a couple of times,
mhm.
like, when he's not prepared for it and he's like, "Whoa," like, and stuff like that.
That's why I was a
But
little
he
bit
he
confused between the two apocalypses in the two episodes
yeah,
because when like say Rogue has a face off, the like say the Four Horsemen comes back, but then the X-Men follow, and we have a
yes.
face off with the X-Men and Apocalypse, and again, Apocalypse doesn't come out well. Like he doesn't get
No.
injured or look like he's hurt, but he doesn't continue the fight. He doesn't kind of try and continue. He just kind of like it's like almost like a well, I'll get you next time, you little stupid men. But
Yeah,
and
he runs down a little hole and like Wolverine like jumps after
he
him and
goes,
misses him, and then he's like, "Nyeh,"
and
trying to dig him out.
just to say, we do get tiny Wolverine in this in like the 60s.
Oh, uh, he's got a big personality to fill the gap, and he's the one who has the most jokes, isn't he? When he's like, "I wasn't ready to hang around" and stuff when he's like stabbed into the glider thing.
I think people don't realize that though as well, because when people think about Wolverine in the comics is different to the cartoon,
Yeah,
because when people think of the Wolverine in the cartoon, they think of him as this angry, vicious
like
little thing,
rough.
but he tells more dad jokes than Lee and Chris put together.
He's yeah, cause like he's kind of like on the level of Spider-Man when he's in
Mm,
a fight. Like
mm,
he like eggs people on,
mm,
like in like calls them silly names and stuff like that. And
mm.
it's like oh, it's part of his like fighting tactics. He's trying to like goad people into like a full on fist fight,
But it's
and it
crazy.
works most of the time.
Yeah, because people don't realize, but Wolverine in the cartoon was the comic relief, which
Yeah,
which was crazy. Unless we go like say he does have some harrowing storylines and some great fights for
yeah,
like
yeah.
saber
When they get
tooth.
in, when they get into the Weapon X stuff and
Mm,
like. But yeah, like he definitely he doesn't drop any opportunity to make some kind of pun about what's happening.
mm, definitely.
Like when like Gambit like saved him from falling on him, which I think he would have been fine if a
Mm.
lamppost fell on Wolverine. But he gets like blown out of the way, and he's like, "Ah, thanks, Cajun." I think like type of thing.
Yeah,
He's
coughs.
just he's always got like something else to say, and he has like weird nicknames for everyone. Like I'm sure he calls Cyclops like Sykes at some point or something like that.
Oh, it's
Cajun.
but yeah, it was weird though because for a long
He just
time that
flies off on a spaceship after that, doesn't he?
yeah. But for a lot of time as well, when it came to like Wolverine and Gambit, they said the
Yes,
main reason why they wouldn't have them two in the movie because the characters and like the tone of the characters were too similar. They thought it would confuse the audience, but
did they?
in the cartoon, it kind of mixes well. Like, and you throw in characters like Morph and like Beast as well. Kind of
Yeah.
that mixture always like plays off like quite an interesting friendship as well. But yeah, they
Yeah,
always said
like
that.
I don't think there's any like combo of the X-Men that like doesn't work, and I think that's what's so great about them. Like I
Mm,
would love to see like Beast and Wolverine have to hang out together for an episode, like you know what I mean?
mhm,
Like because all the characters are so strong
mhm,
and unique, you
mm,
want to see them paired up in odd pairings, or like
mm,
these two have to hang out together and they hate each other, like the whole like Cyclops and Wolverine
Hmm.
pairing is always amazing because like the total like they have an opposite idea of how you should do almost everything. Like that's just fun to watch.
Definitely. So yeah, as you said, he goes off in his little spaceship and flies off into space. But
Yes.
we do get like quite an interesting interaction with Rogue and Archangel, where
Yes.
she said, "Oh, some because she's very reluctant to touch people and
Mhm.
use her power that way, even though."
Well, that's kind of like a last ditch thing, isn't it?
Mm,
When like shit's getting really bad, it's like Rogue has to do the whole like
mhm.
like grab someone behind the head. It's
So
always like flies behind them and like grabs on type of thing.
So she grabs the neck and the head of Archangel and kind of absorbs
Mhm.
his because normally you'll be absorbing his powers, but the way they explain it there is it's absorbing his hate or his anger or something like that.
Yeah,
Because
which that's what they said that was implanted in them. Like they were like, oh, it makes you hate everything, like
hmm
human and mutant alike.
hmm
And it was as if she'd sort of tried to take away the artificial piece.
hmm
But I guess what we learn in the next episode is it kind of like faded back. Like it must have faded out of Rogue and bubbled back up in Angel because he was basically back to his like manic, angry self
I
when we
am.
get to Obsession.
Yeah, because obsession, like we get a very different angel in this one. Well, because we do see three different types of angel. Like the first one is like the normal one before he gets put
Yeah.
into like the chair, shall we say? Then we get
Hmm.
Archangel, which is just basically a killing machine, like to bidden to do the apocalypse. Now we get uh almost kind of like a lost soul angel, where
Oh yeah,
he's lost his meaning of just himself, and his one true obsession is to basically get even on the person that's created this kind of like mixture of a monster that he believes he is, because he always hated
yeah.
himself for being a mutant anyway.
And
That
now he
was
looks
now
way crazier.
now he loathes himself, so and he blames Apocalypse totally for that.
I
So
noticed they changed his power as well.
mhm,
Instead of little feathers, he was just shooting out knives,
yeah.
basically like tech knives, which it looks cooler than the little feather missiles that he was doing before. Unless he can still do both. But he like shot out his like feathers into the wall, but they were just like knives, weren't they?
Mhm.
His tech feathers.
And so we start off with the episode as well with him going through like his fortune, trying to
Yes.
basically find Apocalypse's one true weakness, because everything he's
Yeah.
coming back is like saying no, he's got no weakness. And what happens is one science dude again pops in with a walking stick and says, "I found the scroll you were looking for. Here it is." And
Yeah.
going through Star Wars Death Star maneuver, saying, "Oh yes, his one true weakness is the back of his neck."
This one spot apparently,
Yeah.
which I'm like when I saw that, I didn't obviously know the twist.
Mhm,
But when I saw that, I was like, I've never noticed anything on the back of like, on the
mm,
back of his suit or anything. It's like, has he covered it up with his suit? Like, how you gonna get past that? Surely he's thought of this.
yeah. But that's why I thought, like, again, as a kid watching this for the first time,
Yeah.
that's why I thought Apocalypse's neck brace was like, that makes sense. He's got a brace on there to hide his one true weakness spot.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is his neck. So I was
Or
like,
like yeah, because he wouldn't have always had that tech suit with the pipes on it and stuff.
no. So I was going, all right, clever. He's basically at least for once it's a bad guy that knows his limitations and goes for that.
Mhm.
And then we go back to the X-Men mansion and it goes, oh God, Omega, sorry, mutant threat is at Coney Island next to the Statue of Liberty, and we got
Yeah, yeah.
Apocalypse
And
just walking around
it
in the
beeps.
bush going. Da, 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 da.
He's just it's so like I get it because like it's all part of his
Mhm,
plan. But like they're like, oh, we haven't had a confirmed sighting for like months or whatever, and they're
mhm,
like, this is definitely him. Like this is on Angel's weird computers. He's got to track Apocalypse. So
mhm.
like, but yeah, like to the outside person, like this is all a ploy. It just looks like he showed up like next to the Statue of Liberty. It's like what's there? Has he been to like Staten Island or something? And
He's
he's
been
just popped
partying
over
down the
for a
Jersey Shore type thing with it.
yeah, he's popped over for a hot dog, even though he's too big. But yeah, then everyone like rushes out to go fight him again. But he's kind of like kaiju size this time, isn't he? He's
Hmm.
like starting off big. Yeah, he does a few Godzilla type moments where he like comes out the water in this episode.
I do
Um,
feel sorry
yeah,
for Angel in this episode as well, because when he's fighting Apocalypse, he's basically just used like a rag doll, and then he's used like a kind of like a shield. Because when Apocalypse grows up, he's got him in his hand and he's carrying him around,
yeah.
and all you see is the wings poking out. And then when Cyclops is blasting him, when Storm's firing stuff at him, he's just going like this, ah, ha ha, cha cha cha. Yeah, and it's like, oh shit, they really don't give a fuck about Angel's like if he's going to be safe or
No,
okay after this. It's like, all right, they just want to take out Apocalypse. But this one, with the X-Men fighting Apocalypse, this is, as I said, a new level. Because before, in the episode we just talked about, we thought the X-Men could have stood up or at least put up a fight against Apocalypse. With this
yeah.
one, the whole team is just so like aren't matched for his
Mhm.
like ability. Like I know they get a few shots in where Rourke like kneecaps him, like when he's a kaiju
Oh,
and he goes
yeah,
down to one knee and stuff like that. But
I wrote this down because she totally does like Blanca's move off Street Fighter, like she rolls into a ball
mhm,
and like smacks it in the back of his knee, which I thought was pretty fun. It's a interesting use of your power of flight, isn't it? Just turn to a cannonball.
yeah, so
Um,
yeah,
yeah, and then I wrote down some lines from this one because I think this episode had like the best script.
mhm.
Because like they knock him into a wall, then Wolverine like hops up on him and starts scratching at him, and he's like, "Mother said she always wanted me to be a surgeon." It's like he's making that up, but apparently he doesn't remember his thing because
oh,
he's too old to remember his old life and all that stuff.
oh, bless him, poor,
It's
poor
just so
Logan.
funny.
But yeah, like the whole fight, like Logan being tiny Wolverine jumping on Apocalypse's chest, Beast throwing a
Yeah,
massive chain over him to try and keep him down. It's just like, oh, you knew it wasn't going to
it's like,
work, and Apocalypse
no,
is
he's
just
too big.
kind of just laughing at the situation. But after a while, the Apocalypse just shoots off, and then the X Men go back to the
Yes, with his
mansion.
rocket boots.
Yeah,
He didn't need the ship at all.
no, this time,
He's got rocket boots.
and the X Men being X Men, they start planning and saying, "Why is Apocalypse doing this and stuff?" And they go, "We can see he's been showed up in different things," and then all of a sudden, in the
Yeah.
map, they've got. He's going to be there, but this ship, like that was a mile wide, or sorry, about a mile long, sorry, has just appeared and disappeared, and that kind of freaks them out. Then they find out, like, they put two and two together and say, "Oh, Apocalypse is going to this ship, so it must have something to do with
Yeah.
Apocalypse."
It's very disjointed though, because like they're like, oh, he's hit the warehouse district and like, this industrial estate and this power plant. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
he's not doing anything. Like he never says in the episode what he was doing. It's almost as if they like attack him when he's just doing like errands and stuff. Like he's not like yeah, I guess they were saying he was attacking something, but like we didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just so weird. Um and yeah, then they find like evidence of this techno ship in like the ancient writings as well, don't they? And it's like
Mm-hmm.
people thought it was an alien or something. And then we get a very strange subplot in which Beast falls in love with a spaceship. In like within 2 minutes of meeting the spaceship with the lady voice, Beast is fully in love.
That was the strangest thing I've ever like.
He's like, he's like, well, we request permission to board you. And the ship's just like, my pleasure, Hank McCoy.
Um, but because I know you mentioned earlier about the relationship between Gambit and Rogue, which is
Yes. Oh, yes. They have a
yeah,
bit of a funny turn here, don't they?
yeah,
Because like he's like creeping in the doorway, which is kind of like what happened in the new series with Magneto as well, wasn't it?
mm-hmm,
When he was kind of like he was seeing them two having fun together, but this was a very different vibe between her and Angel, where he was like, he was just like, I hate Apocalypse, I will get my revenge. And she's like, oh, yes, I understand. And like,
it's
it
like
was as if they were having like a weird aggro date where he asks no questions about her.
yeah, so the kind of like thing, and Gambit's kind of like trying to calm her down. That mainly saying, "No, we could do this as a team.
Yeah.
We do the X Men way type thing."
Yeah, there's no rush on this.
Which, to be fair though, the most episodes they are the comics, they always try and do things as a team, but they never end up doing it as a team. They always go off. There's always one of them that goes off and does their own thing and says, "No, I can't
Yeah.
help the team," but then they need the team to basically get the job done. So it's kind of like,
And then everyone has to rush out and haven't, yeah, got the plan ready.
yeah. So basically, when like Archangel and Rogue get to fight an apocalypse again
Yeah.
for the second time, Gambit comes in on his little scooter ship. It's quite a cool looking ship, but it's like almost like a motor, it's a weird thing. It's something that almost like
Yeah.
Transformers would do or something
Yes,
like that.
it does look a bit like a transformer, like one of the jet ones. But yeah, and then I'm sure like Archangel says something really weird, like he's just like, "Oh, give me your soft backside" or something. He's talking about his weird weak neck.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they just like again they just fly around and get like swatted like flies, but this time he's sort of in an ocean
yeah.
setting.
But then
um
we get
yeah.
the little reveal as well. Is like, oh, you thought I had a weakness there, and he shape shifts into the little science guy that gave him the skull, and he's like, Archangel's like, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Does the whole thing,
Yeah, he's like he's like Apocalypse is like I was always there. I created you.
and then
He
and then
says some awesome lines though, where he's just like he says something like you won't find freedom like from me. You'll find freedom through me. Where he's just
yes,
like you can never get away from this. Like he's doing the whole like I am an inevitable type of thing.
oh yeah, the Thanos thing.
Um
Um, then again, it's an interesting turn because we've got the, as I said, the beast, Cyclops, and Wolverine that's on the ship, being like
yeah,
third wheeling between Beast and his
doing
relationship
doing
with
hacker stuff.
Hacker
Yeah.
stuff. Uh, because Beast's having a full on love affair with his ship because they're like proper sweet talking to each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Just the ship's like, "Oh, I finally met someone who appreciates my programming." And stuff like that. And he's like, "Yes, my
but
stars and garters."
So Beast comes up with this great idea not to kill Apocalypse, but to use the ship
Oh, yeah.
to kind of trap them because that's Beast. He's a nice guy. He's not all about the
Oh,
killing.
yeah.
He's about the, like I say,
He doesn't wanna
stopping.
vaporize anyone.
No, but Apocalypse like almost kind of like hints that he knows what's going on because he says to Rogue, says, you're fighting this fight for no point while your friends
Yeah.
are trapped in their own doom type thing." And
Yes.
she's like, "What?" And
And then he's
this
like, "I'm out of here."
and he goes, and flies out Superman style, and you're like, "Oh shit!" And the ship goes into like lockdown and starts saying, "Oh, sorry, there's been a new a new protocol where
Yeah.
anyone that's basically sets this trap, the ship has gone like self explode with using it, and
And this is where if you didn't know like the twist,
mhm,
like this is where you start getting hints like, oh, hang on, is this just all like Apocalypse's plan? But again, it's not a good plan.
no,
It's just a bunch of stuff that happens. Like
mhm,
the good writing in this show is almost put entirely into Apocalypse's like
mhm,
monologue lines. And I think they forgot to like to flesh out the
mhm,
plot. It's just like a bunch of stuff that happens like because like Hank is basically constantly going between like, oh, the ship is gonna it's gonna self-destruct and kill everyone. Oh, I've overridden the override. And
mhm,
then like so their plan is to trap him in a force field that like puts out more force the more force that gets put into it, so nothing can break out because it just reflects it back at you. um so they get him trapped in it, and he's like, ah, Archangel, I'm right here. What are you gonna do? And then Archangel dive bombs the computer console with his entire head, like just head first. He just like explodes it.
mhm.
Um,
But there's a few
which I
things.
thought would. I thought that would let him out,
No,
but I don't think it does. But he's
no.
just like egging him on, like behind the force
It's kind of
field.
like
It's
killing
so
the
good.
computer type thing. But before that, there's a few things that do happen that's quite did make us laugh. Like they use
Yeah.
to demonstrate the force field how it works. They use Wolverine as kind of like the
Yeah,
test
the trap him in it.
the little tester there, and he's get, oh, Wolverine, go and stand over there, and he's like, okay, Bob, I'll do this, and he's like in this cage and he's getting more and more angry and he's like, are you gonna let me out, bub? And like Hank goes, okay, lets him out. But that's when the ship goes into self-destruct mode, and Hank's
Yeah.
like, "What's going on, ship? Don't say that you fooled me." And he's like, "No, no, Hank, it's just my programming doesn't let me help." And he's going, "But if you follow this trail," and he's like doing a light up and says, "This yellow box here, if you blow that up," so Cyclops is shooting it. Then he's like, "If you uh, smash that wall," and you get Wolverine smashing the wall, and he's get, "That's the bomb.
I
Throw it
know.
out there." So the ship's kind of like cheating or like this like an escape room type thing to how
Yeah.
survive. So when they blow up like part of the ship where the bomb goes off, you get Cyclops standing there like, oh no, Hank and Logan, and then you've got Beast hanging on with his toes, but then he's got hold of Logan, and Logan
Yeah.
makes jokes saying, "Cheers, Bob. I didn't fancy you wanted to go for a swim," uh,
Yeah.
and pulls
Like
them in.
you're reaching here, Wolverine. Surely
Yeah,
there was some kind of hanging around joke you could have
there.
made.
And that's when like Apocalypse walks in and goes, "Ha ha, you fell to my trap," blah blah blah.
He
Uh,
does, because he's like, because I'm sure they're like saying something, and he's like, "Well, perhaps your nightmare will become real." And he kind of like comes in the room. Um, but honestly, he has some like cracking lines in this section because he's like I say, he's trapped in the force field, but he's kind of egging them on at the same time. And then he has like his own like computer code to let him out, where he's just like execute code 5462, and it just lets him out. Um, but yeah, like because everyone's attacks are just bouncing off him and stuff, and some amazing lines I wrote down here because they're too good. Is like he's like, "How many people have dreamed of my end? You are no closer than the Babylonians with their swords and fire sticks." And it's like, okay, so this guy's just been like an unstoppable tyrant for like every civilization he's met. And then he says the number one bad guy line that I have ever heard in my entire life, when he's just like, "I am the rocks of the eternal shore, crash against me and be broken." And that's when Gambit hits him with his Transformers Starscream ship, and
yes.
crashes into him.
Mhm.
And then Gambit says the line as well. It's
Yes,
just
like a
a triple
callback.
threat of amazing things when he's like, "The name's Gambit. Remember
Right.
it."
Moshari. But yeah,
He does call the computer that at some point, doesn't he?
oh, it's like you're always going to get a bub, you're always going to get a Cherie, and you're always going to get
Yeah.
some kind of like weird, witty response. Or and you've got like say Scott being a dork as well. Uh,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
he's the dork that you can rely on.
definitely. But then, as you said, when you get like Archangel going off in a little tizzy because he doesn't want anyone else to have the
Oh
upper
yeah.
hand on Apocalypse. He wants to be the one, the
He
only
goes like
person.
fully insane at this part, doesn't
Yeah.
he, basically?
So he's like he's fully nuts and fully going off his rocker. So after when he destroys the computer's like kind of dying, and Hank's is heartbroken. He's like, "No, don't leave me."
Yeah.
And the computer's like, "Don't worry, Hank. I've got one last like it's kind of like one last thing to do," and it's kind of like
Yeah.
shutting up ship, and the computer tells Hank and the X Men to get off, and to start locking everything up. But for some reason, Archangel and um, Gambit
Gambit.
are like locked behind, and it's kind of hinted that, oh shit, them and they're going to be sent away and
Yeah.
thing. And Hank kind of goes, "Ship, my friends, they're
I'm
dying.
losing my friend.
Friends, I'm
Yeah.
losing my friends." And the ship opens up the door, and then all the X Men escape. And the ship then just blasts off to the star system. And I think the last message is saying, "Oh, we can't, this is not stopping, but it'll keep them away for
Yeah,
some time."
should basically like wraps him up in a rocket ship and shoots him off into space, and he's like, "I will be back."
like proper Superman villain going, "I'll be back
Yeah,
and
like,
get you,
"I
you."
will return." The thing is with Apocalypse, that's very well within his vocabulary to say something like that, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, he never leaves anything to, like, subtleties. He's just gonna shout the thing right in your face.
No, dead. But then we get like a really odd scene, like Rogue's like kind of like
Can
apologizing
I
because.
can I just say as well about the ship? It's very strange, and like we say, there's some weird romantic tension, and like when the ship is like figuring out its final plan to like get rid of Apocalypse, it it makes like a groaning noise. It's like, oh, like at some point, and I'm just like, what is happening in this weird spaceship? And it's just like it almost hints as if it's learned like human emotions. It's like, is this accomplishment I'm feeling or something like that? And I'm just like, what were they doing for this 10-minute thing that it's gonna explode? Like, can you remember? Does he resurrect this computer at some point? Like, does
Oh,
he keep the tablet thing
I can't
that he
remember
was
now.
holding on to?
It's like, Hank, if that's where you're getting your kicks now, please put the. It's one of those things where you see that kids in the iPads. Put the iPad down, Hank. Go and get some air. Um,
You're the only one who understands me, Skibidi Toilet.
please go to a bar. Just do something. Get some humor interaction. But
Beast, Beast, he may be big and blue, but like he's a handsome man, and he's a smart guy. So like he's got a lot of stuff going for him.
Mhm.
The physique on that man, as well.
He always does well with the ladies, though. I've never, like
Yeah,
in the comics and the thing, he's never without a suitor or someone who he's flirting with. But
yeah.
the way he was flirting with this one was
He
strange.
cried.
Yeah, because he got that's what throws because um, Rogue's upset that she didn't follow the back X-Men plan, and like
Yeah, and
Angel
like
went
yeah,
Angel went crazy because he uses the line as well. I thought you would be the one that understand me. I was wrong, and he flies off in doing
yeah,
his own little weird thing.
fully off the deep end. Yeah,
Yeah, and then Rogue's like puts a hand on Beast's shoulder and says, "I'm sorry, Beast," and Beast doesn't even acknowledge it and just puts his head on the console of the jet and just like looks so forlorn and sad.
yeah,
It's just like,
tears in his eyes,
and
like full on.
it's really
What have you
weird.
done?
It's what he done. But that's pretty much it. That's how it kind of ends. Like say with the episode.
Yeah.
I know it's not always the end when it comes to Apocalypse and the stories lines it
No, I
comes through.
think there's I think from what I was looking when I was like skipping ahead, I think in like season 4 or 5, there's a
Mm-hmm.
4-part episode called like Beyond Good and Evil,
Mm-hmm.
which that one might be the full on, this is we're gonna kill Apocalypse off in the show. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure I saw like the whole cast was teaming up against them, like including Magneto and Mystique and stuff like that.
I think Cable
So
comes into it as well. Cable's a big part in the
oh
Apocalypse
dear.
storyline
Yes.
as well. Yes,
Yeah,
so
I think that was part of the storyline. He steals Cable's time device or something so he can go back.
go back and stop the X Men.
Yes, because I think we get some Age of Apocalypse stuff as well with like
Mm.
the redesign characters
Mm-hmm.
later on.
Well,
Like the one that showed up in Deadpool and Wolverine.
mm. I am excited to see like what we get in if
Yeah.
there is season 2 of X-Men 97 going to
hmm
show us more Apocalypse and stuff like that. I am all for that, especially.
It looks like, yeah, because it definitely showed him young,
Mhm.
as it like still kind of human looking.
Yeah, so seeing it
Um
from that timeline will certainly change a lot of perspectives and our viewpoint. I wonder if they do them as a like kind of like almost like when it's like the age-old question: if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you do it? It's like what happens if
yeah.
Apocalypse is a night like is the hero is trying to save people from uh, the tyranny or anything like of the ancient
Yeah.
Egyptians. So
And
yeah.
they've done that before as well. Like, people have gone back in time to kill Charles to change history.
Hmm.
And we all saw how horrible that went in like Days of Future Past and everything. But yeah, like I'm not really sure where they're gonna go with this because Apocalypse has no redeeming characteristics from what we've seen
Hmm.
usually. Obviously he's very smart and stuff. It's some in tech, but he's not like you can't reason with him. I think that's why Charles was so scared because he was like, this isn't like Magneto where you could maybe talk him down, in the right circumstances. Um, He's proper like mad with power style.
Mm,
But yeah, I would like to see them explain him a bit more because I've obviously read up on comics, but I
mhm,
think he's one of those characters that just like there's so much potential in him. It
mhm,
just like sets your imagination off when you're a kid
mhm.
because you're like, what? He's like invincible. He can like grow to any size. Like, what can't he do? Where did he come from? Like, how is he? Because I had these little like trading cards and like the one of Apocalypse, like his height was like infinity sign, and I was like, what? He's the most powerful top trump because like you could never beat infinity for height.
So, see, Adam, the tallest always wins. Remember? But yeah,
Yeah,
talk about
you know, I was gonna ask you what X-Men powers would you pick, and I think like as a kid, I always did want Apocalypse powers because like, why wouldn't you want to be the 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 super being of the world who's above humans and mutants?
I wouldn't want. I don't think I could handle that power type thing. Especially you say like with them going crazy with the power. I don't know. Like I think times have changed and stuff like that. Because I know when I was younger, I always wanted to be Wolverine, but I
Yeah,
think he lives quite a sad and lonely life. I'd probably say Gambit because like seeing him now and like seeing what he can do, the kinetic energy power that he has,
yeah,
especially seeing spoilers. Uh, the Channing Tatum looked cool as as Gambit in Deadpool and Wolverine, even though his accent fucking sucked. Um, but other than
yeah.
that,
Which I've seen people trying to say that was like an accurate
no.
Cajun accent, and I'm like, well,
Mhm.
it still sounded silly. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
but I'd probably say Gambit these days, just as you said, for
Yeah,
sheer
it'd be pretty
badassness.
handy, like, if you've got some, like, spare change in your pocket and
Mm.
something's annoying, you can just flick, like, an exploding penny at something.
Yes, but
Because he can do it, like, small scale as well, can't he? Just to, like, mess with things.
uh, it's
Um, but yeah, I think I was the same as you as a kid, I wanted the claws. I don't know, there's just something about
go for
it.
full on rage. But yeah, Cyclops will be interesting. But again, if you're going to be have Cyclops' power, I think you should be burdened with the personality of being a douchebag as well. So that's always been Cyclops. He's the ultimate Boy Scout or nice guy type thing. But yes,
And his eyes are portals to the punch dimension or
so,
something.
so that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant
Retcon that
episodes.
because it's too silly.
Absolute brilliant episodes that you've chosen. Totally like showcases what is great and what is weird and what works and what
Yeah.
kind of doesn't work for the X-Men cartoon, because
Oh, definitely.
a lot of people have rose tinted glasses when it comes to this show, because it wasn't
Yes.
perfect, it wasn't free flowing, and not all episodes were home runs, but it
Mhm.
was always entertaining. It always kept you like with the good characters. That's the one thing it never forgot, was the characters always the more important, even to like
Mhm.
say the shortfall at times of the story, which happened in this at times. It was more showcasing these amazing badass characters like Apocalypse, Archangel, where the story didn't quite
Mhm.
make sense. But again, we're talking cartoons, it's meant to be
Yeah.
fun. We talked about Scooby Doo last week, and again, that was one of the most bizarre things, seeing like werewolves for no reason. But again, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Like you said, it doesn't always have to make sense. Sometimes it's just a bunch of stuff that happened that is very colorful.
Definitely,
Otherwise, we wouldn't watch it. If it looked crap and the story didn't make sense, we wouldn't have watched it as kids. We would just turned it off.
definitely. So, talking about kids,
Yeah.
I've like I say, because normally we pre-plan and think about the episodes really in depth and think about. But I've kind of
Yeah.
called this one on the fly just because you know, it's been a busy couple of days or busy week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but it's one I did want to touch on. And I think it's a perfect time to do it, just simply
Okay.
because there's a big movie released this weekend, which is the new Alien movie, and I think
Yes.
that looks
Romulus.
Romulus looks amazing and it's getting great reviews. So as a homage to it, we're going to do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Case of the Killer Pizzas.
Oh man, I had this on videotape as a kid.
Yes.
For
So we're going
sure.
to see the Turtles versus Exomorphs.
I think this is gonna unlock some memories as well, because I haven't like rewatched any of this show for like ages, not properly.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I had this videotape because it had them on the front, and I was always kind of scared of them as well,
Yeah.
because like they were pretty creepy, and I hated xenomorphs from the movies. They always terrified me, as they're supposed to.
Yes.
Um, that's awesome. So just that one, or is
Yeah,
there
I'm just gonna
any?
go for that one, just to be
Yeah.
honest, because I
Okay.
think it's such an iconic episode. It's season 2, episode 6.
Oh, you got it.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
I'll,
it's
I
gonna be
don't have the VHS, unfortunately.
no,
Anymore.
but I think we can get a lot from it just because of like
Yeah.
the homages. But we can even go into a little bit of a deep dive to the Turtles cartoon as well. So
Yeah.
I think that could be an interesting one. Yes. Just
Definitely.
because I'm excited to see the new Alien movie, and that just popped in my head. I was like, Aliens, cartoon, Turtles, yes, turtle power.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it's a really good link. But I think I'm also gonna see that Alien movie, maybe.
mhm.
You know how hard it is to organize adults to go and do
Oh,
anything.
trying to. Um, I don't. I wanted to say this weekend, but we've got quizzes and stuff going on, and
Yeah.
then work on Sunday. So I might try and go one night during the week. But yes,
Yeah.
but yeah. So that's going to be the next week's episode. Case of the Killer Pizzas, guys. Cowabunga. Um, so, so anything else you want to add to the X-Men franchise there, Jake?
No, just that I'd recommend if anyone wants like a crash course in like everything X-Men. I think if you just
Hmm.
stick a few episodes of this on, you will see a little bit of everything, and it'll probably prepare you for like some stuff coming down the pipeline in the live action world as well.
Definitely.
Um, but yeah, I kind of want to check out those extra 4 Apocalypse episodes now and see what they do to
So we know what
him.
Jake's going to
See
be
what.
watching this evening. Then, but yeah.
Ah.
But yes, so thank you everyone who's watched. Thank you who's watched the previous episodes as well. Like again, we having so much fun doing this. This is
Yeah.
like I say, a little bit
Scooby
of,
Doo took off as well. The
yeah,
runaway success.
but a way of success of the Scooby
I
Doo.
love that great Danish prince.
Oh God, it was such weird, such a crazy episode. But yeah, people love Scooby Doo, so we'll see how they like I say, the X-Men, and how they like the Turtles after that. So we are hitting some big hitters now. Uh,
Yeah, true. People
but
do love the Turtles.
yeah, so we'll do some more modern ones soon, hopefully. But yes, and again, in the immortal words of Porky Pig, that's all, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Have fun.